welcome back to the Candy Kingdom with Lace and Misty. The Candy Kingdom is a podcast for littles and bigs, where we provide resources and support and a safe space to learn together. So sit back, grab your sippy, stuffy and passy, and let's play! Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Candy Kingdom with Lace and Misty. Thanks for tuning in. Today, we're lucky enough to be talking about disability and kink, and how we can make kink accessible to people who are differently abled. We had a really awesome conversation with somebody who's in the kink world. Her name is Tinkie, and they are they think of themselves as disabled, and therefore we thought that they were going to be a great resource as someone to talk to about this and find out what their opinion is and what we can do. So we're going to jump into that. We're going to have a bit of conversation, but first of all, Misty, what's in the news this week?
Thank you for asking. So by the time you guys listen to this episode, it will be over, but next weekend is the event. Well, the event, really. So the dungeon that I usually go to, they have two big events, Christmas in July, which already happened and was super awesome. Mm-hmm. Then there is their second bigger event of the year. Like, they run different events, but they have, like, these two main ones. So the second one is coming up, and it is Kinky Games. It's called the R Games. And I have been roped into competing.
What are you going to be doing?
Okay, so I don't want to spoil. I guess it'll be over by the time you listen. But last year was my first year going, and I just went as an observer. And it was really funny. So it's basically like 5 teams. They're all different colors. I'm going to be on the purple team, which I'm really excited about because that's kind of the color of the podcast. And so there's different events, and each event winner grants you points for your team. And then there's a massive end event, which is usually the same thing. They did add a little twist to it last year, but it is, you're in a team of 4. Mm-hmm. One person gets blindfolded. Mm-hmm. Oh, actually, last year the twist was that 2 people got blindfolded, and then 2 people are yelling out directions. So then the blindfolded people, one of them holds a bowl, and is just standing there, and then the other one has to dive into a pool covered in lube, a pool of popcorn, and gather objects like little toys and stuff. So just picture, like, I don't know, it's 5 teams of 4. So 20 people just surrounding this kiddie pool, screaming at this person because they need to get the object, and then the 2 people who are not blindfolded need to then direct them to the person holding the bowl, and then they put the object in the bowl. So whoever has the most objects.
That just sounds like utter fucking chaos. Like,
it is utter chaos, and it is hilarious. And then last year, because they blindfolded the person holding the bowl as well, there are these referees, and the referees moved around the people with the bowl as well. So then, like, where you thought the bowl was is different, and everyone's just sliding around and trying to get. It is. I said that because I'm squeamish. I am not going to be the person going in the pool. I'd rather just... Oh, no, I can't do that. I can't.
Holy moly.
And everyone's, like, stripped down to their skivvies because they don't want to get lube on their clothes. It's absolutely outrageous. There's other events. Last time there was a puppy... there was a puppy obstacle course, which was really funny. Like...
Oh, for like a puppy play.
Yeah, so even if you weren't into puppy play, obviously you had to just chose someone on your team. Like, you just have to be game to do this. So I will let you know how we go. Our team is called...
hilarious.
I know, I'm really excited for it, and there's going to be tons of pictures. And I actually ordered a mask so that Usually you can't compete if you don't want pictures of your face taken. And then I was like, hang on, I'll just wear a mask and like cover up my face, and then I don't have to worry about that.
Easy.
So I'll let you guys know how we go. We are the Vikings, and I am dressing up as a kitten. And I was like, well, I didn't even know that we were the Vikings, but kittens are considered, or were considered, like, good luck to Vikings. So I was like, there you go. Dude.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's what's going on for me. How about you?
Nothing. Nothing. I mean, I had things, but nothing. Compared to that, I got nothing.
I didn't mean to overshadow you. Come on, tell me about your week.
Mate,
what
that's
did you get up
to? Really, not much. I mean, so we're sitting here on a Monday. And actually, no, I have huge news actually. So I bought a computer.
Oh yes,
it's getting delivered.
We did complain about it last time.
Yeah, and I was all like, "No, I'm going to get mine fixed. Let's not throw away what's not broken." Da 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 da. But the thing is it's like, I contacted a few people about getting it fixed, and they just not got back to me. And I'm just like, this is really ridiculous. I need some help, please. And then they would ring, like, I think the one person rang back about it, and it was like, well, I was in the middle of work. And I tried to ring them back, they didn't answer. And I'm like,
oh no.
Sick. Yeah, and so
that's
I was
a hassle.
And I did think about it because I'm using a Mac, and I thought, you know what, I think I might jump platforms to Microsoft because it's just going to be easier for lots of different reasons. And I'll keep my iMac, but so hopefully it'll make processing and doing video editing and content editing much easier for me. So yeah, that's really cool. It comes at the end of next week, and it's a super high-powered, ridiculous gaming computer. So yeah.
Very excited. Oh, the Stardew Valley capabilities are going to be amazing.
Yeah, well, there is also that too. I mean, it is a gaming PC, but I just wanted something that was going to be reasonably priced and full of power, and this one is. So, yeah, it's going to be cool.
Yeah. Awesome.
So,
let's
jump into the episode.
Yep. Awesome. So, like we were saying before, we are talking about disability, and this is actually the start of a little series that I was kind of, when we were brainstorming about what we wanted to talk about on this podcast, we thought of something called a typical little. So it's kind of like a play on words. So it's about, atypical means, not what's mainstream. Mm-hmm. And there are, we know that there are a lot of mainstream little, like what the mainstream little image is,
Yeah.
It's, a skinny white cis girl, with like flawless skin, just
She's
posing.
usually like 21.
Young. Yes, I forgot about that as well.
Yeah.
So with the idea of atypical little, it's about kind of turning that on its head and raising awareness about those littles that aren't considered typical, but why we should be moving them into the spotlight and making it, because not everyone looks like that. And honestly, from what I've seen interacting with the community as we started this podcast, a lot less people look like that than Tumblr and CGL sites would have you believe.
And look, a healthy community is a diverse community, and I think that I'm not an atypical little. You're not an atypical little. We know lots of people who are. I don't think we know anybody. Maybe like one or two people that qualify as like the typical little. And it's just like, let's spend some time focusing on the different ways that people can present and still be little, and kind of shed some light on that. And so that's what we're going to do.
Yes. So before we jump into the interview, we just wanted to chat a little bit about, how society kind of defines disability, or how society in general creates disability in a sense, by putting barriers in place, because the way that our our society is designed is that it puts able people's preferences in mind first.
Yes.
It's a systematic accessibility issue. So one of the cheesy comics that I like is, so there's there's three people standing there trying to watch a baseball game, and there's a fence in the way. So it's a boarded up fence, and only the tallest person can see. So then the next panel shows equality, where each person gets a box, but that doesn't change the fact that the shortest person still can't see. I might just link the image, but it basically ends with that's equality, but then I've forgotten the word now. Not equality. It's like when you're making everything even for everyone based on what they need. So the shortest person gets 2 boxes versus the person next to them getting 1 box. I think it's about being fair. And then the very last panel is that the fence is just gone and it's a see-through fence that they can all see through without any adjustments. And that's kind of the environment that we want to move towards. Is not just about how can we equalize the playing field for everyone. It's like,
let's just change the playing field.
Yeah, exactly. Just change the playing field. So that's something that I really like, that concept, because it doesn't just apply, obviously, to disability. It can apply to, being trans or obviously being Black or being a woman. It's like, let's not just think about equalizing the field. Let's just remove the entire barrier. So that's something that you can consider as a kinkster. And why would you think that is? Why would you need to consider that as a kinkster, Lace? What's your opinion on how you can remove barriers for other people?
I think it just comes down to the intersectionality of privilege and oppression. And I know that that's a big social justice warrior thing to say, but it's so true, because I think for myself, for example, in the last few weeks, we've been talking about some really hard-hitting concepts. And for me, it's about, okay, how can we support people to live their best lives? And how can I do that using my position of privilege? There is some spaces in which I am not privileged, and then there are some spaces in which I am. And so I use the spaces where I am to try and actively support people who don't have those same privileges. That's what being a good ally is about. So I think it's really important to be inclusive and to be from where I am anyways, to support people that need it, because it creates, like I said, diversity makes a stronger community. And I want to have access to all of the amazing people and their skills and diversity and kinks that I experience. Exactly. So if I don't have access to those things, my world's going to stay pretty black and white for a really long time. I'd rather have some color to play with. So support those people and they'll support you back.
And I'm also thinking, like, I want everybody to be able to get their kink on, because getting your kink on is lots of fun. And if I can do something to make it easier for you to get your kink on, then I am there, because discovering this lifestyle opened doors for me, and I don't think they should be shut to anyone just because they're different. So as a kinkster, I just wonder if you can think about the different ways that you can accommodate people, at kink events. For example, do you have a way of an ambulance to get up to your dungeon if need be? Do you have health equipment that's not for kinky play on site? Do you provide a space for people to, I don't know, take medication or get changed, or just little considerations like that? Do you have a space for someone who's a wheelchair user to get into your event? Things like that.
And it does happen. It absolutely does happen.
Yes.
We've had, at a party I was at a couple of weeks ago, we had an instance where a lady fell into a seizure. It was it wasn't an emergency situation. It's a common occurrence for her, but there was flogging happening at the time. There was needle play happening at the time. There was aftercare. There was lots of things. And we all just stopped. The music stopped. And we just all sat quietly and waited until that person was okay. And then everything went back to normal. And that's just, it didn't have to be a big deal, but there had to be a sense of occasion for that moment.
There has to be some kind of procedure in place as well, because, what we do is dangerous. And that's why minors shouldn't be involved. Anyway, what we do can be dangerous, and that's just a consideration in general. Now, the other thing that I was thinking about is some personal reflection as you're dating. Are you okay, are you comfortable with dating someone with X disability and Y disability? And examine why or why not. You know, there's the realistic barriers that could keep you from, you know, dating someone with a disability, depending on the amount of support that you have to give them. Maybe you're not capable of doing that or those tasks. But if it's just you being closed-minded and narrow, you need to get your crap together.
Yeah, check it. For example, there is people in the community here that are wheelchair bound, and they, you know, from what I can see, it looks as though they allow their partner to play with others because they can't play in the way that they want to, but they're there for the aftercare and they're there for the emotional support, and it's a really lovely environment and a really lovely play to watch when it happens. So, you know, like it's I don't think that kink should be inherently inaccessible to people who have disabilities. I think it just needs to be rethought of, reorganized.
Yeah, exactly. And I also think that oh no, I lost my train of thought.
Okay. Well, while you're thinking of your train of thought, one other thing that I want to talk about from my own personal experience is, and this isn't, I don't call this a disability, but it's a limitation. And we're talking about, you know, what is typical and what is most often seen in kink spaces. One of them is, so for where I am is I'm very much involved in shibari and rope. And I can count the times on my hand that I've seen people who are plus size being tied, but those who are bigger bodies, you know, are not the typical advertised, promoted, and often glorified bodies that are tied. It's always very thin women, let's be honest. And it comes from the history of it is it's, you know, it's a Japanese art form, and so it's a lot of time it's this tiny Japanese woman that gets tied. But I think one of the things that I'm really interested in is looking at how can we rewrite the techniques so that there is lots of consideration for plus size bodies and how they can comfortably be tied, because it's possible. My rigger and I have figured out a few different tricks and tips that are just, you know, about double wrapping so that there's more reinforcement, especially around areas that carry a lot of weight or like they do a lot of load bearing. So if you're doing a hip harness, I tend to have more like double wraps and triple wraps sometimes, so there's 6 lengths of rope around my legs because that gets really uncomfortable. When we're doing a TK tie, which is the one with your hands behind your back, we do one wrap around the top chest, and then instead of doing the bottom wrap, we do these little cuffs around my arms, and it actually holds my arms back and stops me from being in heaps of pain. So, you know, there's just little things that you can do to accommodate bigger bodies, and that's not hard. That doesn't change the flow of things. It doesn't make it less engaging for me or my rigger. And I think that we can apply that same sort of thinking to lots of areas in kink to keep it safe, to keep it sexy, but to make it inclusive.
Exactly. And I don't know why I just keep losing my train of thought. I had something really important. It might be the incense I'm burning. It might be making me dizzy. Oh, yes. But it just goes back to that creativity again. And I just feel like that gives you and your rigger more experience and knowledge that you can then take to other people. So
well, I've had a few people approach me and say, hey, I know that you're an experienced bunny, which I'm not, but
stop it.
No, I'm truly not, really. But I'm very vocal about what I want, what I need, and I know enough about basic ties to suggest things. So I think that's where it comes from. But I've had people want to tie me because I'm a plus size bunny and because they want to have experience tying a plus size bunny. And I think to myself, surely there must be others, but I look around me and there's really not. So like, you know, I think we need to also break these stigmas down so that people who are in those minorities that do find themselves not represented might actually feel confident enough to come out and be their own representation, which takes a lot of guts.
I love that. That's beautiful. I like the way you worded that a lot. And then I recalled my train of thought, just something that I follow Tinkie on different social medias. I think her Instagram and her Twitter through our account. And something that she highlighted as well is that don't pat yourself on the back for like dating a disabled person, because that dehumanizes them. That's basically saying that you're not looking at them as an individual person. You're just going, look at me doing such a great thing, you know. So that's something else to consider. And it's a really nuanced area, but I just think don't limit yourself because you're worried about screwing up. Everyone screws up. You just need to be willing to accept it and apologize and learn from it. And there are so many people that you're leaving out if you're just, I'm just going to date everyone who's able-bodied, or, you know, and there's not just physical disabilities as well. There's cognitive and mental disabilities, or just disorders, which is something that I'm going to talk about a little bit in how we conducted this interview, or will conduct this interview. So did you have anything else to add?
Not right now, but I'm sure I will later. I'm very passionate about this topic. I'm passionate about inclusivity, like, as a general rule. So,
yeah,
like,
I don't see why people make it such a big deal, and they're like, you're just being too politically correct. And it's like, well, not really. I just want everyone to feel good. Is that so hard? Like, I want to respect everyone, and I want them to feel loved and appreciated and included and welcome. So,
and it's just not fucking hard to make simple accommodations.
It really isn't. Oh my gosh.
Anyway, so what we're going to do is I'm going to be taking on the voice of Tinkie, and Misty is going to, because obviously Tinkie did not feel comfortable coming onto the podcast and speaking. So
that's part of the invisible kind of disability that I was going to talk about. So she struggles with auditory processing. So, you know, sometimes when you hear something and you're not, you know, you've heard something, but it just doesn't make sense. Like, you know, you've heard someone say words, but they just sound like they just spoke a foreign language to you, essentially. And then sometimes you ask for a repetition and they'll repeat, or sometimes you ask for the repetition and your brain catches up and you go, oh yeah, no, I heard what you,
I already heard.
It's like, it takes a minute. It happens to everyone. It's something that, I guess when it becomes a disorder is when it happens all the time. So it happens occasionally, but if it's an all the time thing, then you would have what's called an auditory processing disorder. So that is why we ended up, and that's part of the accommodation. We could have just gone, no, never mind then, we won't interview you. But, you know, we thought creatively and asked her what we could do to accommodate that. And we sent her the questions via email, and she responded to them via email.
And look, that doesn't mean that we want a pat on the back. We're just demonstrating, okay,
how
so this
easy
is an idea. Yeah, like how friggin' easy it is. And like a lot of the time, people who have these, I guess, extra, I don't know how to word this. I guess the people that have different needs will have already the methods or ideas in their head, like, okay, look, I can't do that, but I can do this. Okay, easy, let's do it this way. Do you know what I mean? So like, don't disclude a person who requires a different approach from the actual designing of that approach. Like,
and the reason why we obviously interviewed her is like the best tip that we can give about this area for ourselves as well is to just talk to people with disabilities and get their opinions and get they're experts on their own bodies and on their own experiences, and we need to understand that. So,
and we're coming from a position of, I mean, again, intersectionality. I have some things that in my mind hold me back, but there are other ways in which I am typical. So it's coming from a place of learning, and I guess it's a good place to start here with Tinkie, because Tinkie's got some really great insights. So
yes. So let's jump into the interview where I will be asking questions and Lace will be answering with Tinkie's responses, which are typed up in front of us, so we're not just making things up.
And I'm not going to do any kind of accents. I'm really sorry.
No,
Tinkie.
please don't. All right, let's dive into it. So, thank you again, Tinkie, for being interviewed and being our first interview.
Thank you.
All right, so what can we call you?
I prefer being called Tinkie.
How did you discover, the CGL or kink lifestyle?
Well, that's a complicated story that started when I was a minor. I prefer not to talk about it much, as I think I had a lot of dangerous ideas about the community, and of course, I was a minor.
And that's totally a relevant point to our last episode, in that people who got involved had a lot of ignorance around it, and that's why it's better to wait until you are an adult. And obviously, Tinkie does not support minors in kink now. Mm-hmm. Okay, so moving on. How do you identify, or what's your role?
I'm an adult baby and a submissive.
So what type of partner are you looking for if you're looking?
I'm only looking for someone in person. I want someone who accepts my disability without liking me because of it. I'm so much more than that. I don't really care if they were into my kinks specifically, but I'd like them to be accepting and have a dominant energy. I also just want to generally feel comfortable with them.
And that's like something that we all just kind of want in general. Like we want, or I shouldn't say all of us, but that's
it's a pretty universal. Speaking as Lace, that's a pretty universal thing to want.
It's a typical little want. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, what makes you a typical little, quote unquote, as in what is different about you than the stereotypical image of a little, which is a thin, white, cis girl, able-bodied, etc., etc.
Well, I'm a bit on the chubby side, and I am disabled and chronically ill. I use a wheelchair as I can't move or effectively move most of my body. I rely on other people as it is hard for me to even push a wheelchair. I'm white though, some might say fluorescent white, and a cis girl.
I thought that was really funny.
That is really funny.
So have you had any positive experiences due to your difference?
Of course. Everything has positives and negatives. One of 3 biggest pros is I've met so many amazing people who told me I've had some sort of impact on them. As far as being chubby, it really has forced me to start looking at the world in a different way. I suffered from an eating disorder for years, and sadly that negatively affected everyone. Now that I've gained weight and realize I love this body, I'm able to love other bodies too.
I love that so much. I don't even know. I've never heard anything kind of framed like that. I don't know. It just makes me kind of happy. It's like, I don't even know how to describe how I'm feeling.
I think speaking as Lace, this is really liberating to read and to say and to hear, because I think she's right. Like, especially for myself being in a bigger body as well, it does change the way that you see the world. And I've been on both sides of the spectrum. I've been thinner, and then I've also been plus size, and she's absolutely correct. You do have to learn to love your body and then love other bodies. And I mean, I'll admit it, growing up, I was very much somebody who was grossed out by bigger bodies because of the media and the people around me and the all that sort of thing. I felt because I felt bad for it, but I also thought this is just what it was. And then I grew into my bigger body and I realized I actually really like my bigger body, and then I started to look at other bigger bodies around me, and that was one of the things that I did to try and learn to accept myself and what I look like, is I unfollowed everybody on social media who was a fitness junkie or like a really thin white girl or whatever, and I just started following trans people, plus size people, women mostly, because that's kind of what I was trying to surround myself with, but also disabled bodies, different bodies, and that's been a big part of how I've learned to become inclusive, because now I look at bigger bodies and I'm like, damn girl, you want it.
Exactly. And that's how you stop yourself from limiting your imagination as well about what's sexy. So back to the interview. Have you had any negative experiences due to your difference?
I do get some awkward comments from time to time. I don't like when people like me only for my disability or expect me to have low self-esteem due to it. I rock my wheelchair, thank you very much. Also, in the real world, people assume I'm dumb and talk down to me.
I hate that,
which
honestly.
Sucks. That's just, and this is Lace, that sucks. But this is a really interesting point, and it seems to be an ongoing theme that people only like her for her disability. So I'm interested to learn more about that, and it's an interesting concept of like this sort of hero worship, or
it's kind of like a fetish.
Yeah, and that's
so like I've had people who are oh god, do you know a comment that I used to get all the time in college? I've never been with a black girl before, and my retort was
not about to.
Well, I always said, and you never will, and then walk away.
But it's like, why are we fetishizing differences? Do
you think that's gonna make me just jump on you? Oh my god, you get to try me. I'm like a dessert. I'm like a roller coaster ride. Like, I'm a new experience for you to go and talk to people about. I'm like, no, I'm a person. So I really identify with that too.
Yeah. I think that one thing I have noticed is it's like people who try and go completely the other side. Like there's people who discriminate against, but then they go way too far on like, oh my God, you're so cool because you're disabled or because you're black or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, that's just gross and inappropriate stuff.
And I just think it also is just down to ignorance again and just not truly being comfortable and truly being capable of learning and seeing. You're still not seeing them as an individual, just on the other side of things.
Yeah. Which is weird and gross. But I get, like, you're trying, and that's nice, but stop it.
Try a little less. So then, what stereotypes about people like yourself, Tinkie, have you come across?
They think we're dumb, incapable of sex, innocent and naive, incapable of a lot of things. I do a lot on my own. I am able to take my own pictures with the help of a tripod, of course. I'm able to get dressed.
She does post lots of really cute pictures. And I'm kind of jealous that she can hold her own feet because I cannot do that.
And like, I mean, even without a disability, people use tripods in photography all the time. It just makes it stable. It means you can get fully into the shot. Like, that's a sensible thing to do. Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
So then we also asked her, or what would you change about the CGL community to make your experience better? What can we all do to be more inclusive?
Okay. To be honest, this is just about the most inclusive and respectful community there is. However, I wish there was a tag to help us find similar people. I use #DisabledLittle, but it's not used by many people. I'd also love to see brands use more diverse promoters. I agree.
So there
with
you
that 100%.
go. There you go, guys. Disabled Little. If you're listening to this and you have some sort of physical or mental disability and you are also keen to find people, we will be linking Tinkie Binkie's social media. But if you're interested in joining this movement and finding your community, that's what you've got to do.
I think I'm going to, whenever I'm posting, particularly so for my own thing that makes things hard for me, aside from the plus size thing, is the mental health stuff. So I've got, like, you know, ridiculous crippling anxiety and stress issues and whatever. So I'll be using Disabled Little when I'm having my low spoony days and posting pictures of my cats. But I love it. I think that's a really good, easy, simple, inclusive title. Let's just run with it. Let's do it. Yeah. Not title, tag.
Tag. And I also can maybe post, I don't know, my OCD is pretty much manageable. I've only had the one freak out, which you were kind of there for when I was just very bad brain. But, you know, if I feel like that, I generally am not in the mood to post anything. I'm just trying to, like, keep my grasp on reality. But if I ever do, I will also use that. Yes. All right. So back to Tinkie. So what's your favorite part of this community and lifestyle?
I like feeling cared for and loved. I'm also a bit of a masochist. Combine those things and I turn into jelly.
Same here, girl.
Yeah, I can relate to
that. We also asked about your vanilla interests. So what are they?
I love to sew, love animals. I volunteer at our local zoo, although I'm on leave right now. I love learning, I read a lot, and do a lot of research on various conditions that my friends have. Fashion is a big passion of mine as well.
Anything else you want to chat about?
Wanted to explain to listeners that I'm not live due to an auditory processing disorder. I have difficulty understanding people and prefer to have visual cues as well, and I need to take a minute before I understand what is said.
And I want to make sure that people know that an auditory processing disorder is not an issue with intelligence. It's literally just like the message system between your ears and your brain kind of breaks down. It's the relay system in between them, not anything wrong with either of them. So that happens to people. That's, you know. Yes, it's such a typical. I mean, I know it's I'm actually going to the psychiatrist right now to mitigate the possibility of ADHD. I don't know. You can listen to me and think I maintain my focus super well. But that's actually one of the symptoms, or can be a symptom of ADHD as well, as that auditory processing thing where, like, I think mostly for ADHD, or like at least for me, it's like someone's talking to me and I see their lips moving, but I'm totally not hearing a single thing. And I'm just so hyper focused on what I'm doing that I'm just like, I don't, what did you say?
And look, the way that I support you in that is that I just, you know, I'm patient. When you say,
yes,
look, I'm going to be honest, I didn't listen to a single thing you just said. I'm like, okay, blah, blah, blah. I say it again. I don't get mad. It's like, I just make accommodations. And it's not hard.
You're just used to me being like that.
Well, yeah, but like, I don't want a pat on the back about it. Like, I just want to make sure that I'm supporting you as my friend. And then likewise, when I have my low spoon days where I'm so anxious I can't breathe, get out of bed, eat, drink, or do anything, you know, you're there for me and support me and make sure that I'm, you know, okay, we'll reorganize a different day for recording. We'll do
and I also
else.
prod you to, like, eat and do stuff.
Yeah, I'll prod, harass. They're like, think of it however you like.
All right. So, like we said, we will... Oh, I forgot that she had a YouTube as well. So there you go. You can find her on Twitter. She's Binkie Tinkie on Twitter and Instagram, and Tinkie Binkie on YouTube.
I just love the name, and I love her attitude, and
I
just really want
I
to say
kind of want to be friends with her. Like, I know we reached out to her to do the interview, but it's kind of like from a professional kind of point of view.
I just want to be her mate, yeah.
I just want to be your friend. So when you listen to this, be our friend.
Yeah, no, just be our friend. But look, I do want to say a massive thank you for Tinkie letting us speak on her behalf, and also for sharing her story and sharing her approach and attitude to life. And I just think it's really, I'm not going to say inspirational, but what I will say is it's given me some food for thought in different ways, and also I think cemented a lot of the ways in which I approach certain situations and how I want to be inclusive. And it's, you know, like, it's all well and good to say I'm inclusive, but it's really important to actually give a voice to others to make sure that the airwaves are inclusive as well. Like the time spent and devoted to listening to people who actually have the things that we're talking about, you know, like, I want to give them the airplay too. So thank you, Tinkie, for sharing with us. And we appreciate you being on the show without being on the show.
And speaking of, there is another podcast that I wanted to let you guys know about. It's called Disability After Dark, and it is run by a disability awareness advocate who is also kinky as. So if you're looking for more information, this person, his name is Andrew. I'm not going to try to say his last name because I cannot do it, but it is Andrew, Gurza. And I'm not gonna mess it up because I hate when people mess up my name.
That's fair. Yeah, no, I get it.
But he's got 190 glorious episodes where he talks about disability, sexuality, interviews people, all sorts of good stuff. So if you want more research,
what's the name of the podcast again?
Disability After Dark.
I love that. That's so evocative.
I know.
What a
I thought
cool
that was
name.
Cute.
Damn, that's so cool.
Yeah, so if you want to hear more, or if you are disabled yourself and you're looking for more, you know, stuff from your community's perspective, then definitely check him out, and I will do the link.
And also Disabled Littles tag. Get on that. Yes. Let's blast it. Let's make it massive. Let's everybody use it so that we can help. Or even if we use disabled or hashtag disabled CGL so that we can get even more people involved, or use both. That would be cool too. I think both because I think at the end of the day, I don't want to be like, let's start our own hashtag. I want to support and use the hashtags that other people are already using, because it's like, let's build on it. Let's not derail it. So we've got some really cool resources, I think, in this episode, and I really like the voice that we've heard today, the words and the attitude and perspective is so cool. I just think she rocks it.
Yes, she did. Okay, so we'll wrap up. So thanks for listening, guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please give us reviews or share with someone. Word of mouth gets us even more listens and keeps us motivated for doing this. Keeps us motivated. If you have any questions...
you're right, though.
If you have any questions or comments, feel free to contact us at The Candy Kingdom on all social media. And don't forget that you can support us financially through Ko-fi, Coffee, whatever, Ko-fi, if you have the means, and we would be very, very grateful for it. So we hope you have a sweet week, and we will catch you next time, Candy Crew. Bye!
Bye!